Well, I guess another great weekend for all of us as far as the athletic department, but it wasn't as good a weekend. You probably heard about our travel and our little 8-hour delay in beautiful New Jersey. That was, I was going to get home in time, run over to the hockey game, start working on Minnesota, and if I get home at 7, we got home at about 3:30 in the morning. So that was eventful. But as far as our team goes, we won the game. I thought we played okay. I wasn't as ecstatic about some things. One, the turnovers. I thought we had some ridiculous turnovers, and I was disappointed with that. The other one was, the second half gave up. They had 54 points with 3:23 left or something, and they scored 20 points in 3 minutes, and wasn't maybe threatening to the wins or losses, but it was threatening to my health and well-being and our stats, So they hit 4 threes in a minute and 20 seconds or something. And that part is only disappointing because I had 2 guys that I really wanted to get into that game. The parents were there, Kerr, who's from that area, and Gehrig. And those 2 guys have been so good on my scout team. Scout team might be the best one I've had in years. And, we started putting them in, and then things happen, and they still could have played. They're good enough to play, but that's disappointing. And we dressed our team about it, to be honest with you. If we're supposed to be strength in numbers, everybody's important to us right now. But after we got back and, had a late practice yesterday because of the time we got in, players were pretty good. It was a short practice, and we'll get at it today for real. Yesterday was a little more film and try to just get them through it. But Minnesota's one of the hottest teams in the league, and they just beat 2 ranked teams. They've won 3 straight, including the games against Michigan and Oregon. They have played well in a couple other games, but they're finally healthy. The kid Mitchell, who was down against us, played against us at the end and hit 5 threes. And Garcia has gone from really struggling to, unbelievable 26 points, 8 rebounds in the last 3 games. That's what he's averaging. So that's a big difference. I've always been a big Ben Johnson fan, as many of you know. I thought his team was good then. I just thought that injuries, he has no margin for error. He lost a lot of guys that are other places, some of them hardly playing. And I think he's done a phenomenal job. So Garcia is a great player. He was an all-conference player last year. He struggled early in the year, a bunch of new people, maybe not new situation for him, but he's really come on the last maybe 6-8 games. In the last 3 games, he's been unbelievable. So for us, it's just a matter of, different guys still not shooting the ball as well as I think we can. I mean, better in the league at 33%. But if we can get that thing up to 36 and 7, I think then I'd be ready to say that a good team moves into the next category. Rebounded a little better the second half. Defended actually really well until that one stretch, and we still held them under 40 and under 30, which is phenomenal. So a lot of things to feel good about, but now we've got a quick turnaround under a little adversity. A team that's playing good. We'll see how that goes.
I guess when you get that second matchup against a team you already faced earlier in the year, and they have, like you said, they're getting healthier, they won 3 straight, is it like a completely different kind of game, and how much does it carry over from that first matchup?
That's the problem with the change in the league right now. As you know, we play so few teams twice. I mean, we play 3 teams twice. And as the schedule went, one of them we played the first game of the year, first Big Ten game, and now we play it in the end of January. The other one, Michigan, we don't play. We play them twice in 2 weeks or 3 weeks at the end of February. So that's the part of the schedule that's difficult for coaches because you don't get to use much carryover. It's almost like it's almost like you're almost prepping for 20 different games. And, you know, it used to be you'd prep for 10 and then you use the prep time for the others. And that's why there's so little time for us right now, because this game's a whole new prep. Number one, it was December 5th, 3rd, 8th, whatever it was, 12th, huh? No, it was 4th. It was December 4th. That's 2 months ago. That's number one problem. Number two problem is they are a completely different team. The guard is healthy. Another guard has come on really well, which happens. And their superstar, who was a superstar then, just wasn't playing like one, is now playing like one. So that's what makes it hard on the coach, too, because he's done a great job with them. And keeping them afloat, I think, tells you what kind of coach Ben is, because it's not easy to do that this day and age. So every prep for us, except the second time we play Michigan, will be like a one-game prep or a first-game prep, and that's hard on the assistants, hard on the players. But you know, it's the same for everybody. So I'm cool with it. It's just a new adjustment from other years.
Well, obviously, Jace had a big game. Cohen had a big game. Booker had some pretty impactful minutes. How much are you seeing the in-season growth from these guys, and how difficult is it to maybe kind of assess the ceiling, knowing that there can be even more growth?
Yeah, I honestly do think, you know, Jeremy was playing real good. He didn't play bad. It just wasn't one of his best games, you know, with the turnovers and that, and you know, a few defensive laps. And he's a very good defensive player. Trey is still shooting it better, but not like he was last year. So that's coming on. In Jason Cohen, you know, those two are roommates. I think they've continuously gotten better throughout the whole year, you know, and we just got to keep getting the ball in their hands in different ways, and they've got to continue to be aggressive. I thought both of them were more aggressive in the last game. And in Book, I mean, you know, he has, as you say, stretches, and the stretchings are getting more often in practice. They're getting more often in a game. I felt the same way I said last year. I don't feel any different. I think he's a big key right now, us moving forward to becoming a great team. He's one of the keys, but his process has been a little slower than you'd like, I'd like, and he'd like. And yet, as long as he's progressing, you know, he is progressing. And I'm kind of proud of him, the way he's handled it, even though half the time I want more. I got to tell you, I'm going to keep wanting more, because I think he has more to give. And but to answer the best part of your question, have we hit our ceiling yet? No, I don't even think we're close. Can we get there? You know, that's everybody's dream. But we aren't maxing out. We've been consistent that somebody stepped up. We haven't been consistent at the same guys are always stepping up. And so it's not comforting all the time, but it's appreciated how they've kind of done that. You know, Jace got hot. They kind of went to him. I thought he played very well. I thought Cohen played very well. I mean, those two guys really played good basketball on both ends of the court. As I told my own team, you know, Cohen, if we can get him out on the break, he's really electric. And Jace, he has a great knack to being able to, the efficiency is because the ball never sticks with him. It doesn't stick, and I love that about him.
Tom, I'm curious, moving Frankie to the 4, putting Cohen Carr on Ace Bailey, whose ideas were those on your coaching staff, and how much does this season's depth and the way you're able to use 10 guys speak to the level of coaching that you have as a staff?
Yeah, I think my staff has done a great job, you know, and everything they've done. You know, Saudi had this scout, and we talked about who would be best at one time. You know, we were kind of thinking of staying with our traditional four-man. He plays the four. We just didn't think it was the best matchup, fairest matchup for Jackson. But so we started. I mean, Cohen did do a great job, but don't downplay the job that Jaden did, because Jaden started on him. And I thought Jaden did a very good job. He hit that 1-3 late, or he would have had, I don't know, one maybe. Did he end up with two? Yeah, and the ironic part is he's shooting 60% from the free throw line, and he made 8 of 8. But I thought both guys did a good job. One was quicker, and Jaden, and then when you come in there with Cohen, he's strength. But if there's an area Cohen's grown the most in, Jaden's improved on his defense, but Cohen improved by leaps and bounds. He's rebounding better, starting to block a few shots, and he's defending, and we can defend him against different guys. And Frankie, he's got to get used to. He's going to play both, but he's got to get used to it. But he has been a good addition on that, and we just got to get him more comfortable doing it. We're interchangeable, and give the players credit and the assistant coaches, not the head coach, credit that we've adjusted to different things and been able to do that.
Tom, I saw a quote from you, I believe from last week, about not wanting your team to get fat and happy. With 12 straight wins, you guys are poised to move up in the polls again this week. How do you find that adversity? What kind of adversity do you need? How do you create that? Is that something that can only come from external factors, or do you build that
Well,
in?
as you know, Jen, you've known me long. I'm great at creating controversy in situations like that.
adversity. I didn't say
adversity.
adversity.
Well, there is controversy. We have quarterbacks, and we have, we'll play different people. But adversity, I mean, what's been fun for me with this team is I decided early in the year, after listening to myself, self-evaluating, listening to some players that I really value their opinion, that have been here, left, gone, and that you always swing the pendulum too far to the right and left. If there's any better place to see that is in our country, if you ask me. But this team, I decided early on that I was going to talk to them more about all the things that go on. Not be afraid to talk about, hey, are people calling you from other schools? Because we all know they are. And get ahead of the curve on everything we can get ahead of the curve on. And I think that gives them a little ability to have some even more ownership in the team and in the program. Let them know what I'm thinking. Let them know what I'm going through. And without being overburdened with it, I think that's helped. I talk about being different a lot. I talk about, why the strength in numbers is good. We've still not had any injuries, and I'm hoping that continues. But I look around all these teams that we're playing, and it doesn't. And I think they've trusted me because I've talked to them more about it, the tough conversations. I've trusted them more because we're in those conversations. And that's not as easy as you think. I mean, players, it's hard for a player to trust the coach anymore. He's getting too many outside people telling him differently. And it's hard. And then you just got to spend more time and make sure that you're open to them feeling comfortable and telling you. And I've had that discussion with a couple of them. I bring them in, and everything's great. Now I'll give their parents a call on something, their grades or something else. And, well, Johnny's struggling. That's not what he said to me. So then I call Johnny back in. And I say, you want to Zoom with your parents, or is there something you're not telling me? So I've been really open to that, which is chancy on my part. But with this team of pretty intelligent guys and guys that get along, so far it's gone very well. Now, don't worry about the adversity I cause, or don't worry about the adversity that presents itself with rankings and media and fans. The biggest adversity is what happens when you win or lose games. And, when you won 12 in a row, there's always adversity. It just doesn't, his head doesn't pop above the ground. And when you lose a game, the whole body comes up. And that's a whole nother set of issues. But I think we're building a base that's good enough to handle a lot of things. We'll see if that's true.
Tom, outside of liking Ben Johnson and wanting him to succeed, is it
Except tomorrow.
yeah? Is it helpful to have when you've beaten a team rather handily at their place and you're facing them again? Is it helpful for you getting your own team's attention to have them turn? Would you prefer this? It's helpful probably for your analytics, metrics, and all that stuff to have them be a more quality opponent. And then secondly, with Garcia, is there anything you've noticed that they're doing with him differently in this last stretch?
Well, the first part of the question, is really good because normally you'd rather a team down, right? I mean, if it gets down and then it gets beaten down, and at this time of the year, some teams are really going to get beaten down, and then it's their confidence that's shot, in the next week or two. But this day and age where there's so few comparative scores or nobody's played anybody twice, 3 teams of this 20 games are being played twice, so it's hard to evaluate that stuff. I would just say that I'm hoping my team is getting mature enough that if they lost 10 in a row, we still know we got to play, and if they've won 10 in a row, now I think I don't think that happens a lot, but I think we're getting a little more mature where they understand. We bring up, this is what I did on Monday morning. We had a meeting last week. I brought up that 19 of the 25 teams had lost over the weekend. I talk about that. I'm open with it. If you just say it and you get, oh yeah, that's great, but that's not me, But when I show them things on the board or I talk about who that team that just got beat lost to, I think I made bigger points than that. I guess I'm trying to educate my players on the strengths and weaknesses and the pitfalls and everything, just to keep them focused on the task at hand, which is one game at a time. Second part of that question.
Is there anything they're doing differently?
Yeah. I think they're isolating him more. I think he's done a nice job. His guards are really good. He's got 2 really good guards. I think they're isolating him more. I think they're making sure he has more touches. They're getting him the ball in the post. They're getting him the ball on the perimeter, and they're getting him the ball in the mid post. And he's skilled enough putting it on the floor. He shoots it well enough from the 3. He's getting to the free throw line. So I think he's done a phenomenal job of having his guards that are really good, keeping them involved, but making sure that his superstar is touching the ball some, and he is touching it a lot.
Sounds to me like even though player relationships become pretty natural for you, that you're working harder at player relationships than you've ever had to?
Oh, by far, because, I do know that probably the biggest pitfall, and I've done such a good job of not talking about my 2 favorite subjects, the NIL and the transfer portal, but the biggest pitfall always has been over the transfer portal, not because of a kid transferring at the end of the year. It's because the number of people that are calling these kids during the year. And I remember Matt Painter in one of my Zoom calls on the committee I was on, and we brought it up there about our own staffs, making sure they're not doing it. And a couple coaches said, well, I don't know that's happening. And paint went off, yeah, we all know it's happening. And you think of a kid, it's very difficult to focus in on what you got to do when you got people telling you what you can do somewhere else. Well, you can throw 10 touchdown passes here. You can, we forget as we get older. We were a little more impressionable at 20 than we are at 50 and 60 and 70. It's just the way it is. So spending more time on that stuff, 100%. getting more dividends out of the time I've spent? 100%. And it really, what it's helped me with is you do have deeper relationships with guys, and you get to talk to them about their stuff. You know, yeah, I know people are calling you. Yeah, I know this is happening. You have to deal with this. So it's not just basketball on the court, you know. I think the guys have been great with it. And I you know, we don't beat it to death. It's not every day, but it's the subtleties that hopefully keep them trusting me and me trusting them, because that's really, at the end of the day, where basketball has changed from the Judd and Bob and Gene and Clem days in the Big Ten to the Tom and Matt days of the Big Ten is, you know, it was 90% basketball, a little recruiting, and, you know, whatever else you wanted to do. And then it got to be, you know, recruiting got to be more important, and now the development of players, I think, has taken a hit, and I think that people spend more time on other things dealing with basketball, but not on the court stuff. That's kind of sad, but true. But if I got to do it, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make it better for them.
Don't get ticked off at me.
I'm always ticked off.
I know. You're 17-2. You're 8-0 in the league. I don't think you even thought you could do that. So where's the ceiling?
Well, you're right about some of it, which is surprising to me that you are right about more than one thing, but we are 17-2. We are 8-0 in the league. And did I think we would be there? No, I didn't. So you're right on three things. Where's the ceiling? If you can tell me, I'd tell you. I don't know where it is. I mean, I think this. We are not maxing out. We are not winning games because we hit 12 threes, like some teams are. We are not because we've just done some. We have been pretty steady. We've been, we haven't had any real lows. I am say we've had the highest highs, but we've been pretty consistent. And I think you're going to see, you know, Jeremy, who, you know, didn't play, was out 8 months. You know, his basketball is going to get better. Jace, his basketball, you know, his feel, he's got a great feel for the game, but his, you know, even being more aggressive and us going to him more is going to get better. Trey is getting better, you know. There's no question that Cohen has gotten a lot better, but he's still got room to go, you know. Our bigs inside, one of our concerns, Jackson struggles a little bit lately. He struggled a little bit more. He was a monster on the boards and doing this and that, and some of it is teams figure you out, some of it they put more emphasis on you. But we had a good talk with him last night, and, you know, we are by committee in there. Coop's better than he was a month ago. He's playing better. So, you know, we're getting a little more out of Frankie. He was struggling early in the year. So I think our ceiling's still high. I just want to see when some adversity hits, how we handle it and what we do with it and how everybody handles it. I mean, I think most people, including Tom Izzo, predicted even a month ago that even at the beginning of the year, I said, you watch 5 losses will win the league. I haven't changed any. That's not sounding too good for us because we don't have any right now. But I still believe in what I believe in, and hopefully I'll try to make sure it doesn't happen to us. But I think that's the way it is right now.
Hey, Tom, like the last several questions have kind of been on the theme of managing success. I'm just curious to know specifically, when managing highs and lows, is the emotional sacrifice the same managing the lows just as the highs? And how would that work from a universal principle standpoint to the boardroom, to a team, to a business, when you got success and you're trying to manage that?
To the emotional, you mean with the players?
The players, even for you, like if you're having a tough time and how you got to dig in a certain way, is it the same comparison? Even with,
you know, it'll sound crazy, but I tell a player this all the time, that if we lose a game, you'll probably see the lights on in the building even later than they normally are. But when we win a game, the lights are still on in the building late. So I try not to change a lot during that period of time either. What I have to do now is be aware of what's going on outside the world, because they all get to these kids so much. And that's where you end up spending more time with them, calling them, talking to families, talking to the kids, getting, sometimes it's an assistant, sometimes it's the shooting coach. I mean, we are talking about the same thing, and I think corporations are too, is how do you handle success? How do you handle failure? And how do you make it so it's not that much different? Because it shouldn't be. You should do your daily job, I mean, some of these football coaches that have been in it forever, do your job and do it right every day. And sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. But if you're doing your job and you're steady, it's, oh, we got a big game this week. Hey, let's put extra hours in. Now you can think that helps you. And once in a while we'll say, let's make this seem more important. But then the problem is the next week you play a team that's at the bottom of the list. And are they going to expect you to, well, let's take some time off. Let's relax a little bit. Or if they see that in you, it's a problem. So I've stuck with the theory, not that I'm a philosophist or that I'm really good at any of that, but you got to work. You got to work, man. The more you put in, the better you're going to be. The more work, Cohen Carr shooting free throws all the time, it's gone up. It's still the favorite part of coaching. The one thing I realized as this thing has changed so much in these last 3 years is the things that excite me are still exciting. Watching a kid go from here to here, watching them start to trust you, I told you the story that trust is, when Judd was here and you trusted because head coach at Michigan State. Nobody gives a damn about that. In the Hall of Fame, nobody gives a damn about that. Won a national champion, has 20, nobody cares about that. That does not give me any leeway with a current player. And there was a little stretch of time, maybe a few years ago, where that bothered me. It took you so long to earn that, and now nobody cares about it. But it is reality. Nobody cares about it. They don't care about the president of the company. They really don't. And until you, as the saying goes, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that takes every individual and every individual year. And that's what's made the job a little more time consuming and harder. But when you see a Cohen Carr, when you see a freshman like Jace is just blossoming, when you see Jeremy go through his injuries and really has done more than I thought he would do in a year, that is rewarding. When you see Jackson Cooper change his body and everything, Jackson Kohler, and everything goes better, that is rewarding. And that's how I get my new rewards. It's not as much even myself on whether we win or not. It's seeing a player get better, and usually if the player gets better, you win more games.
Coach, 10 second-half turnovers against Rutgers. That was an issue against Penn State and Northwestern as well. What do you think it is about the second half?
Well, that's what bothers me more than anything. If you look at, I think 5 out of 7 games, we've given up almost 40 points in the second half. That means we're not mature enough yet that we get a big lead and we don't know how to finish the right way. We start playing the score instead of the game. Pretty normal. Just not what a coach likes. Pretty normal if you look at what a lot of people, in any one of your lives, if you're having some success and take your foot off the accelerator. The turnovers in the last game, there was 3 of them right at the very end, and so if you're at 10 or 11, you say it's pretty good, and then you get to 15 and you say, it just tilts it so much. What I've tried to do is not let the 3 minutes and 40 seconds of a game when they score 20 points ruin most of the game. I'm not real good at it, but when you win, you can tolerate it a little bit more. Lately, I'm not tolerating it as well, and we've talked about it more because I see it becoming a pattern, and that pattern is not a good pattern. So we're we're trying to address it, trying to talk about it. What do I see? I don't know. I see that we're getting a little loose with the ball. I see that we're not maybe guarding quite as good, and yet in some cases, 30 minutes of the game, we've been great. So maybe the next mature step that this team has to make, a little more leadership on the floor, leaders not letting it happen, and realizing that basketball, it's 40 minutes, football, it's 60 minutes. You know, things don't change. A lot of games won and lost, as we saw last night, in the final minute of a game. And we sometimes think, well, the missed layup at the beginning of the game doesn't matter because you got 39 minutes. You know, every possession matters, as they say. And that's what we're trying to harp on. Every possession and every minute matter. If we get to that point, we'll win a lot more games. If we don't, we'll take some lumps.
Hey, Tom, I'm just wondering, at this point in the season, what's it been like for you and your staff coaching this team where, like, as you said a little earlier, you don't really know which guys on which day might pop up and have a big moment with sort of that uncertainty, even though you know you have capable options? What's that been like? Scouting, in-game adjustments, that type of stuff. And then maybe on the other side as an opposing coach, the same dynamic where you don't exactly know which 2 or 3 guys might pop off. What do you think that's like for an
Well,
opponent?
it's not as, you don't sleep as well, you know, because you're not positive who's going to get you your points, you know, or who's going to get you your rebounds. You don't feel as good going in. What has started to happen over time, though, is it's been fun to watch. Somebody has stepped up, and a couple guys have stepped up. I mean, what, is it 8 now, or 9 or 8 leading scorers, different scorers? And that's not the norm and everything, but that does make it difficult on the opponent. What I learned most about teams are always when there is, Jen, some adversity. And as crazy as it sounds, after the game and yesterday, I learned as much about my team as I did in 5 games of competition. Because we pulled into this airport, we were going to get home at like 6:30. Some of the guys were going to go to the hockey games. Some probably had a date. Some probably, you know, it was going to be enjoyment. And we sat on that tarmac for an hour or so, and then they decided it's going to take longer, and boom, boom, boom. And I was trying to explain it to the players, and I said, you know, we're going to watch film. You guys, you know, we even talked about having a meeting, and I knew they were tired. I didn't have one complaint. You were on the trip, so were you. I didn't have one guy complaining. Now, I know that might sound crazy to you, but the coach was complaining. I promise you that. I mean, there were people that got a few earloads at what I thought of the whole deal because I didn't think it was handled right. People were lying to us about things. And so we sat, and then we went to this hotel, and we sat there in the lobby, and then we went back at, it was supposed to be 10:30, and it got to be 12:30, 12:30 by the time we pulled. And then we sat there for a while, and then we got on the plane and sat there for a while, and we left at, I think, 1:20. And I didn't hear anybody except me being upset. And then we said, okay, how are we going to practice? You know, what time are we going to bring him in? What are we going to do? And so we tried to let him sleep in. We said we're going to have 2:30 or meetings and then practice. And the meetings were great. The practice, we cut it short, but we got at a little bit, and they were great. I think that was a sign of maturity. So the head coach was immature. The players were very mature. They got their part done. I did get a lot of film watched in that time and moved on to Minnesota. But you do learn about people in strange ways. So I don't know how that handles it, but it's important to me. And I think what it showed is they were happy for Jace. You know, it was Trey Holloman. He was talking about Jace to me, you know. They were all happy for Cohen, you know. It's not been a jealous team so far. It's not as I said, comforting to not to know, but as I told you a couple times, that coach on the other end, He's not sitting in there saying they're going to this guy or they're going to this guy, because the coach on this end doesn't know. And I say that cheek and tongue because we know what we want to do. We just, some days there's different people, and we went to the people that we thought were playing the best.
Just wanted to, if you had any update on Carson after it kind of looked like he tweaked his ankle, and I want also with him and Jackson in his game against Garcia, just what they've done the last couple of years defending him.
Well, he did a very good job. Jackson did a very good job last game. So did Book. And I think Book is another guy that can, Cohen was not a very good defender, and everybody said, well, he's a great athlete, so he should be able to defend. He was not a very good defender last year. He's making himself into a great one. He's made himself into a damn good one right now. And I think that would help Book a little bit too. So we're going to throw different people at him. We might even throw smaller at him. It depends. We have some options on what we want to do, as we did with Bailey. But Coop he practiced yesterday pretty full, limped around a little bit. It was not a serious injury. Just tweaked it a little bit on that time when he got the foul laying on the floor, which I don't understand that one either, but I guess he was right. I guess you don't have the right to be laying on the floor, even if you get knocked down. But everybody else is healthy. We have no injury problems, and I think we will guard him by committee. We'll throw different people at him. But he's a lot different guarding now than he was 2 months ago, in my humble opinion.
Tom, you were there. Judd, he said his most talented team of all time. Sam went down. Ken Johnson went down, didn't make the tournament, right?
Yeah.
How comforting is it to know that if you get an ankle injury, you don't have to reinvent and throw your game plan away?
Well, that's the advantage of strength by numbers. That's the advantage of having some quality depth, which some teams have a little more than we've given them credit to. I mean, I go through that list, and I'm amazed still the number of good teams that are playing 9 and 10 guys. So I think everybody's doing a little bit more of it. With us, it's just it's worked out great because all the guys get along together. But it's comforting. I mean, it's not comforting to not know for sure who is going to get you your points, but it is comforting to know that if some guy is playing well, there's 9 other guys pulling for him, and it is comforting to know if somebody does go down. At least right now, it's comforting because it hasn't happened yet. And when it happens, if it happens, I don't know. I think we're in a best spot we can be in. That if something happened for a couple games, longer than a cup of coffee, that someone was out, I think we can adjust, and that helps you when you get into February. I really believe that, and we'll see if it does. So, all in all, guys, it's been a good run. I think you would agree, though, that the schedule now gets ratcheted up a little bit, and it does for a couple teams. Although a couple teams it goes the other way. So, it'll be interesting. Some big games coming up in these next couple days, and. As I said, as we had our staff meeting today, probably the next big adjustment is just how much time you still have to spend when players are getting more tired, coaches are getting more tired. You have to spend so much more time preparing for each team because you don't play them, and then the one team we have so far, who are our two? Michigan, Illinois. So Illinois will be probably the most normal one. We played them in the middle of January. We play them in February, right? Huh?
Middle of February, middle of January.
Okay, so that's pretty normal. That's always been the way it was. But you get a Minnesota, you play at the beginning of December and the beginning of almost the end of January. That's not the normal. Then you get Michigan, where you play them almost within a couple years ago. We almost played them back to back, I think. Yeah. So that part, at least the preparation will be easier. The preparation will be easier. But the other two plays, it's almost like whole different teams, you know. And even when we play Illinois again, you know, the guard was out. One kid came in and gets 16. You know, that wasn't the norm. So it is different, and it's, I guess, exciting for fans, for media, and it's a little bit hair pulling for coaches. But I don't know. You know, we've got this game, and then we got to get ready for that road trip that some talk about. You know, depends on when you do it and where you do it. And you know, I've gotten calls on how are you going to handle it? How can I handle something I haven't done before? You know, you're just giving somebody a lot of BS because you really aren't sure. And then coming back, they say is more difficult. And of course, we got that quick turnaround with Oregon. So we've got some challenges in front of us. But I will say this: you've interviewed them, and I've coached them every day. No matter what happens the last 12 games, this team has been really together. This team has been fun to coach. This team has been, they've let you coach them. That's a key phrase right there. They've let you coach them. Everybody thinks that's automatic. I mean, they respond to it. And so consequently, I think what happens is coaches don't have to be as demonstrative on things. You know, because it's not because you're winning, it's because when you're talking to a guy, or my favorite is when a guy comes over and says, my fault. I think that's worth $1 billion. Because it's just not the way the system works anymore where it's their fault. And I got a bunch of guys that can say my fault. And you know what? Once in a while I say to them, no, that was my fault. I didn't do my job. I screwed up. That happens too. And that's what's been neat about it. So enjoy them at least today. By tomorrow, we might all be mad at them and me. But it's been good so far, and we hope to just keep playing our best basketball.